All right, we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for stopping by. As always, I got Alex with me, and today we're going to be talking about some potential upcoming Pokemon resupplies that may be happening. We'll see what that ultimately ends up being and whether that's really going to have an effect on the market. Demand is still really high, even though we haven't really seen as much upward trajectory as we have in the past 2 months. But is that going to really stop prices from continuing to go up at some point, or more specifically, prevent them from going down? But before we jump into it, as always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, really helps the YouTube channel. And then, of course, make sure if you ever see any more spots available for the wholesale program, links down in the description below. We had a spot open up and then it sold out, and I didn't make an announcement about it because it was too late by that point. But anyway, and then of course, Alex, if you want to check out his content, links down in the description below as well to check it out. But
enter at your own risk.
Enter at your own risk. Yeah, right. And then as far as it goes, Alex, how do you want to kind of kick things off to start?
I mean, dude, the thumbnail, the title tell it all, to be honest. Like, all we hear is more and more from Pokemon. Both of us hear from our distribution contacts. Like, Pokemon puts out statements saying, we are going to max out print capacity, basically say print this thing into the ground with Prismatic, and doesn't stop it. There's hundreds and hundreds of sales happening a day on these ETBs. All the other products are selling in record amounts. We're getting blooming waters, like hitting the shelf. I mean, I thought we were going to, I think I said it in a video. I thought we were going to have a legitimate good size, not good size, but definitely a pullback on 151, on the singles, on the packs, and barely any movement at all downward on 151 with all the blooming waters product. And then we have a Surging Sparks reprint confirmed, on the way. It's coming. People still buying Surging Sparks, tons of sales every single day at the full price. It's, I'm just I'm getting to the point where can anything cool off this market?
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens. I mean, Blooming Waters, to be fair, did have some delays on product availability. I know that I've got at least 2 distros that I still haven't got my Blooming Waters from because of delays. So we still haven't seen the full effect of it coming onto the market, but regardless, right now you're seeing it sell for 145 on TCG Player, which is ridiculous. And to be fair, like if you do the math, you're paying, last time I checked, which was yesterday, about $11.25 per pack for 151. It comes with 12 packs. So if you're doing the math there, like it makes sense. It's not that the box itself is like this magnificent collection box. It's the fact that, hey, if you want to go right now to TCG Player, $11.25 for a loose pack of 151, and you multiply that by 12, that gets you to 135. So it's like you're paying the price of what it is to get 151 currently. You were kind of hoping, or we were all kind of hoping, that was obviously going to lead to more of a price correction. Like I said, we're still waiting to see what the rest of the product hitting the market is going to do. But so far, it's definitely been nothing at this point.
Yeah, man. I mean, people say it's like unprecedented, and it's like, it's definitely rare, but it's not unprecedented because that would mean it's never happened before. Hidden Fates was like this. Hidden Fates was $10 plus a pack pretty much right after release. 151 actually took a while to get to this much per pack, right? So Hidden Fates, it ran up to $300 in ETB, got reprinted down and stabilized, over 100. I mean, we've seen $100 packs before on specialty sets. It's not, $10 packs before on specialty sets. It's not like it's anything new. It's just we haven't seen it in quite a while. And as we talk about, most people in these hobbies only last about 12 to 24 months on average. So most people that are here today just weren't there back then, so they don't remember it.
Well, I think more than anything, though, it's like you had Crown Zenith and you had that specialty box get absolutely dumped into oblivion, and you saw just single prices absolutely tank. I remember the Giratina, like it's now selling for over 200, but I remember when I made a prediction video when the price of the car was at 180, and I was like, be ready for sub $100, and people thought it was like the craziest take ever. It's never going to get to, below 100. Maybe it'll get to low hundreds at best. And it hit 75. Like it was it blew past what my prediction was. And people were like, you can't go lower, bro. But it's like, that's the sentiment that I hear way too often that ends up always repeating itself. So it's something that I think we've been anticipating with 151 to see a correction at some point with the singles, but so far it hasn't happened. So I know obviously we're getting news here that there's going to be some bundles that are going to come out for 151, and who knows what the size of that is going to be, because that could potentially play a role along with the blooming water remaining amount of distros finally getting it to their individuals. But I just don't know, man. We just really have to see what product availability is going to look like, because unless we get a situation where 151 starts to flood the market in the same way the Sea and Sky boxes did, it's not going to really have much an effect. You have to literally like sucker punch the market with supply.
Well, and also like it's the market wasn't the same back then. It wasn't the same when Crown Zenith started getting its reprints. It was much more, I would say, like tame, much more level, even keeled. When things are this hot, you can't dump, small reprints on a market this hot. They just get eaten up, before anyone even knows they were there. And so, they're going to have to come up with some kind of strategy to try to cool things off more than throwing a few Blooming Waters boxes. They're promising some bundles, or, just saying we're going to crank up, the printing capacity, because everyone's kind of calling Pokemon's bluff right now.
Yeah, who knows what the actual situation is going to look like in terms of product availability. I mean, we've been obviously saying this for the past year at this point. It feels like when that's going to ultimately come next. Especially too, I mean, you've probably seen well, actually, knowing you probably haven't. Have you been paying attention to the newest set and what's potentially going to be released with Destined Rivals?
I know nothing, brother.
Yeah, I kind of figured. Yeah,
Tell
so
everybody.
From what it sounds like, at least from what we're being told, the three items that are being combined are Heatwave Arena, the Gloria Team Rocket, and then Steven's Metagross EX and Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX decks. That's what at least PokeBeach is reporting as some of the things that are going to be featured. It doesn't look like they're going to put all of the cards from the set of the Gloria Team Rocket. It's going to kind of be something where some of them will be in it, and then some of them are going to potentially be put elsewhere. That wouldn't be super surprising. You saw that happen with EV Heroes, where like you had the Espeon Infusion Strike, you had Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon put in the collection boxes. You had multiple different items that were kind of split just because they couldn't fit it all into one big giant set. So that wouldn't be surprising. Anticipate that to potentially happen with specialty boxes. But yeah, it's weird to see, because right now, like, everyone's got, you've got mixed opinions from what I'm hearing with Journey together. I mean, I know a lot of people are super hyped. A lot of people are like, I think it's overhyped. It's just the market. Regardless, obviously, boxes are going for almost $200 a box. And if this is like where we're headed with that being SV10, especially considering it's coming out end of May, so literally a month or 2 months later after Journey comes out, like that's an insanely quick turnaround time. So, and it's like,
Pokemon can almost put blank cards out there and sell them at this point.
What'd you say?
Pokemon can almost put blank cards out there and sell them at this point. I mean, it's getting to that point where like it doesn't really matter what's in the boxes right now. It's just the supply is so low and the demand's too high. Like, it's not that Journey Together is some like, all world greatest set ever. It's just the market. I mean, any box would have been 200, I think.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we saw that with Battle Styles hit 150 pre-sale back during Sword and Shield. So right now, I mean, I will say though, Journey looks like a good set. That's just me. I understand people don't like it, but I feel like it's the same treatment that people are giving Journey compared to what they gave to Stellar, which was it doesn't have as many hits, therefore the set is going to not do as well, or it's not as good. I've never really liked that argument, because if the set has good cards, it has good cards ultimately. Like the Squirtle and the Bulbasaur card have started to continuously spike in value again. From that set in Stellar. Obviously, Stellar isn't lagging behind all the other sets. It's performing just as well, if not slightly better, compared to some of the other ones. So it's like, I don't know. I've never really understood that take, and I think Journey looks like a better set just based on the fact they're bringing the trainer cards back, and the art designs for it look really, really good too.
Yeah, and I mean, whatever the conspiracy theories are out there about Pokemon and the new MSRP, I mean, if it's true, they're doing a really good job of it. I mean, I think almost all the sets except maybe SV Base, Paradox are all at or above MSRP now. Like, if they're trying to raise the market price to around MSRP, it looks like they're doing a pretty bang up job.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the that's kind of the age-old debate that it feels like everyone's having nowadays is with the new reality of MSRP, what is that kind of changing the direction of how things are going to be handled, right? So, because MSRP has always been something that's been thrown around forever, but it's like never been honored really. And then until people want you to honor it, you know? So it's like, how is that going to be handled moving forward, right? Because if you look at most of the Scarlet and Violet boxes, as we're aware, what 90 to like 85% of them are at or around MSRP pricing, like other than your Twilights, your Paldea, and your like Surging. I mean, you've got Obsidian, Base, Paradox, Stellar. They're all around that 160 price point, give or take. So I don't know. It's definitely a weird thing to think because, you know, how much does Pokemon actually put stock now in MSRP? They never did historically speaking, but now it feels like they are. Is this a transitional shift? I guess only time's really going to tell with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of shifts going on. I mean, them, really building a relationship with GameStop, larger relationships with the big box stores, seeming like they want to sell more on their actual website where they, realize all the profits. They don't have to go through distribution channels. It does seem like there's a very real push to do something like that. Again, no one's got any information. It just from looking at it, just seems like they're trying to do something like that right now in the market.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do want to, give a, kind of reply to someone's comment. I saw it. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Because it's actually really relevant to what's going on. I don't know, maybe it was, oh, here it is. All right. So never mind. I can't, maybe they took it down. I can't find it, but basically they were saying like, with the prices right now, like I'm not paying, $70 or $80 an ETB, or I'm not paying more than that. I'm not paying $150 to $200 booster box or more than that. And it's just like, I get it for brand new stuff, but especially things like Paldea, 151, some of these sets, a lot of people said that with Evolving Skies. A lot of people said I'm not paying $180 for Evolving Skies.
Are you talking about this one?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not paying 45, 55, 80, and definitely not now. It's just unlimited print cards. And it's like, dude, look, I get it for Prismatic. 100% agree with you. I get it for Surging Sparks. 100% agree. They're brand new. But 151 in September, it's 2 years old. Paldea, SV, these are getting 2 years old sets. Very unlikely the further we get into this year and then into next year, we're going to see more of this stuff. And so 175 an ETB, 180, I mean, sorry, 175, 180 a booster box may look like a really good deal in 2 years. Like some of these ETBs, like, I don't know, Paldean Fates, maybe Shrouded Fable, a lot of these might look like crazy deals in 2 years. So like, that's kind of my only take on it is I understand being fearful, but we've seen other times where boxes just don't come back down.
Yeah, it came out in September of 2023. We're into February, so it's about a year and 5 months old at this point. So it's time's moving.
And it's not that 2 years is like a immediate cutoff, but I would say it's very less likely it gets reprinted after 2 years.
I think the only counterpoint I would give to that would just be the fact it's a specialty set, and historically Pokemon has always been really good about addressing that, whereas Evolving Skies wasn't. That's my only other take. Because right now, I mean, with Crown Zenith, for example, whether you want to use this as a good argument or not, but like there's been reports that Sam's Club is once again restocking in certain areas more of the Sea and Sky boxes. So it's like Crown Zenith is a set that is part of the Sword and Shield era, and we've pretty much said, oh yeah, Sword and Shield era product, good luck on more supply coming to the market. But yet Crown Zenith Sea and Sky boxes are still getting pushed out. Obviously, you're not seeing it distribution in the same way, but it's not like it's not available for you to find locally below what is at market. So it'll be interesting to see if that might be the next transitional shift with 151 and Blooming Waters, and maybe there's going to be a lot more prevalency of Blooming Waters and big box retailers in the future. But obviously, who knows? It's just something that I'm like fully waiting to see how they handle it, just because specialty sets tend to get more supply than regular mainline sets in the same way like you would Evolving.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like Jacob said, it's like, yeah, January 2023 was Crown Zenith's 2 year window. And yeah, I mean, I think this is probably just like some supply that's still been sitting out. I doubt Pokemon's still actually printing Crown Zenith. It's probably just all the boxes that were already made, already packaged, and they're still just making their way through the system.
Dude,
I doubt we'll see another Crown Zenith product after this.
you'd be surprised. The rotational cycle for 2022 it was after Worlds, and it was literally a month before the rotational cycle occurred. There was a reprint for Shining Fates. And it was like it threw everyone off because we're like, why? What's the point? The set's about to go to rotation. And the price, this might not seem like a big dip, but like going from 60, $62 to then dropping into like the high 30s, low 40s, like a 33 to almost 40% retracement on a set that was finally starting to like gain some value back after having been printed more, that kind of hurt quite a bit in its overall like strength. So they're weird with specialty sets, man. That's the one thing where it's like, hands off with that one. You kind of never know. I think the real question is, and maybe it's too early to ask this question, but I think it's worth still speculating on. At what point do we say to ourselves that Pokemon no longer reprints ETBs in the same way? Because what I mean by this is if you look at most recently, you've had obviously the Crown Zenith and the 150 boxes addressed the most. You've had the last 3 restocks or resupplies of this product, whether it be Crown Zenith 151 or Paldean Fates. It's all been done through booster bundles, right? We had tiny booster box or booster bundle resupply. I mean, like I said, we basically got nothing. I talked about it in our last stream for 151, and hopefully this will be bigger. And we had a decent sized one with Paldean Fates like about a year ago, and obviously there were some Crown Zenith ones that came that wasn't as big, but it still affected the price pretty drastically. And so it's like, for me, I wonder if Pokemon is now looking at going that direction as we hear news that 151 booster bundle reprint is potentially coming, and it's just easier for them to print it that way. And now ETBs are actually going to be the ones that are going to hold up more. Who knows? Obviously, collection boxes are also going to be a part of that, but you never really know. It's always been a kind of a hotly contested debate. What's Pokemon always going to reprint? It's been historically ETBs pretty consistently, but they might be making a shift. I think another part in this, before I let you talk, Alex, is if you actually look at allocations this time around for Journey, the biggest standout from what I've heard from most people is they got slashed on sleeved, but got way more than what they would usually get for booster bundles. So it's kind of a weird transition where you're starting to see booster bundle allocations be a lot better compared to historically.
It's what all the reprints are too. I mean, 151 booster bundles, right? Surging
Well,
Sparks.
that's what I was just saying.
Yeah, it's just like that. Just seems to be that their new go-to reprint product. Like it was ETBs in Sword and Shield. In Sun and Moon, it was booster boxes, and now it seems to be, booster bundles. And that's why, guys, if you see Sun and Moon booster or ETBs, you say, why are they so expensive? Because they never reprinted them back then. And everyone's speculation was, well, it's because they don't want to reprint the dice and the sleeves, and it's too much. It's so much easier than to reprint the boxes. And then they shifted in Sword and Shield and said, nah, we're going to reprint all ETBs now, and it screwed everyone up and then threw everyone off. And then people got used to that. Now they're like, we're just going to reprint bundles. So we're not going to reprint anything else. And it's just, or we'll just make these new collection boxes and throw it in those. And it's just, it's hard. You got to stay on your feet with this market. You got to stay on your feet with Pokemon and how they, attempt to supply the market without always reprinting the same products.
Yeah. I mean, the minute they become predictable is the minute that you start to have actual real insider trading occur. I mean, you have to think about it from the perspective of like us as retailers. From a legalistic perspective, having the ability to know when product is coming and being able to preemptively sell it, it definitely starts to, and to be fair, like it's obviously discretionary because, distros don't have to make that announcement, and technically, us retailers don't have to, but it's at our advantage to let everyone know that, hey, we're going to start taking pre-orders for certain items. I mean, the most recent example, obviously, I wish it could be Pokemon, but Magic, you had commander decks for things like Ixalan happen, and Ixalan like was 100+% on like the singles, and there was so much money that was made if you were currently sitting on Ixalan selling before the reprint happened, to the point of where it's like, hey, you literally have a 3-month window to sell any sort of Ixalan product that you might be sitting on for Commander. And if you do, you're going to make an absolute killing and then be able to go pick up your product several months later for Wholesale again. Like, that is insane. I mean, it's like You saw that happen too with like Brilliant Stars, Lost Origin, Chilling Reign. Like when we heard that there was news that these boxes were going to come, it was like, cool, let me start selling what I have right now. And then let me go pick it back up again at wholesale pricing. Like there's a huge advantage to that. And so there is an aspect of unpredictability that I feel like Pokemon's trying to push more and more. And I feel like historically that's one of the reasons why they've been more reluctant to give actual like pre-order SKUs out, because they would prefer to do it all last second so that you don't have people that are trying to just dump the market in advance before that product ends up coming with said notice, so that they can more specifically beat the overall price correction.
All right, I guess I'll take a time now to let's piss some people off a little bit.
Oh boy.
Guys, as you guys know, my take's different than a lot of people's out there. Don't really care. I don't apologize for it, but at least you can hear a different perspective. I don't think the hobby's that unaffordable, because a lot of times when you hear it, it's for gameplay. Guess what? Got these. Pokemon puts out products for gameplay. These League Battle decks, they're cheap as heck. Theme decks, they're cheap as heck. You can buy them for 10 or 20 bucks. They have everything you need to play the game. And people will say, well, Alex, those aren't as competitive. Okay, great. If you go play like a league, church soccer league, right? Pretty cheap, not competitive, but almost anyone can get in, right? Anyone's involved. If you want to play like a select league, yeah, it's going to cost more. You got to pay for travel. A lot of parents don't want to do that. They want to put forth. Great. There's different levels of things, right? No one's saying that if you want to play the game and have fun, you need to be able to compete at the highest level with every top card in the deck, every blinged out trainer, and have $500,000 decks. But Pokemon has options to enjoy the hobby at a very small, very fraction of a cost. And I understand the packs are expensive right now, but not every pack. A lot of the packs are still $5. I mean, if a booster box is under $180, that's $5 or less a pack. So like less than $5 a pack, you can open a lot of these packs for. You got League Battle decks, you got trainer decks, you got all these different things to actually enjoy the cards, play the game, put them in binders. I think there's Pokemon's doing a good job of making options for everyone right now. My take.
So what is your kind of stand? I mean, is there someone that specifically said something in the comments that made you say that, or is this more a response to the haters that have been?
I know there's always people in the comments saying stuff, but
yeah,
no, I mean it's the haters don't bother me, right? Like, because all the haters, they're just all upset about the same thing, right? They're all upset that they can't get cheap product. And we argued about this beforehand. You said it was a little different in your areas, but I know at least my areas and other friends I have in different parts of the country, I've talked to them. In most people's areas a year ago, right, product was on the shelves at Walmart and Target, and they weren't selling out. And you know why they weren't selling out? It's because they were $40 in ATB online, but they were $60 on the shelves at Walmart, and those were seen as ripoffs. And the only people that really bought those were like if a mom would see something as an impulse buy to buy for her kid, they throw it in the cart, but no one really bought them. The people you have online are not just like they're people that are really upset because they can't find them online cheaper anymore. And so then they go to the stores and they can't find them there. And I think that's driving a lot of the hate. So that's why it doesn't really bother me much. I know that once everything's cheap again, a lot of these people will all subside and most of them probably won't be in the hobby. But like I said, for people that want to play the game, there are cheap options, right? If you just want to open a few packs, you can get packs for $5 or so. And judging the fact that inflation is the way it is, and in the 90s, our parents could buy us a few packs and they still cost $4. It's not that I'm out of touch. I just don't think that is that outrageous as people are making it out to be.
So let's take
Prismatic. I get it. Everything else though, it's not that unaffordable.
Let's take the competitive game out of the situation. What are your kind of thoughts on scalpers, whether it be in the hobby or just scalpers in general? What's your take on them?
Yeah, it hurts. Like it hurts the average person buying them, but it's not a Pokemon centric issue, right? It happens in concert tickets. It happens in, pretty much any single, area that people have disposable income to spend on things. And there's a high demand for that item, that service, that performer, whatever it may be. I told about it before. I wanted to go to the Super Bowl. I can't afford a Super Bowl ticket on the secondary market, right? Because it's too expensive. And, maybe I want to go to a Taylor Swift concert. I don't, but let's say I do. I can't afford a Taylor Swift ticket. Right. And, the only time it's going to come back down is when the demand falls. The fact that too many people want to enjoy something, it's a good problem to have. Now, it's bad for the people that have been there and they want to keep enjoying it at the same price levels. but it just means more people are coming to the place that you enjoy, and they're all agreeing now that saying, yeah, this is great. I want to be a part of it. And you can see that just like our thumbnail from the amount of sales happening day in and day out on all the online websites of how many products still sell at the current prices. So that tells me a good amount of people out there of the entire customer base still feel that it's a affordable price and they're buying it.
Do you think scalpers are bad for the hobby?
I mean, I guess they're bad for the hobby, but they're not. It's not anything that any one like. It's not something that investors caused or that, you know, anyone running a business caused or a rip and shipper caused. Like no one caused this, right? Because all of these businesses, I invested long before this. People who ran businesses invested long before, or ran businesses long before this. Rip and shippers were around long before this. So everyone coexisted before. And so, although scalpers are bad, it's not the symptom of any one person or any one group. It's a symptom of too much demand and not enough supply.
So, what would your kind of response be to like more specifically looking at the way in which the standard expectation is in, let's say, like Super Bowl tickets, right? Because you use that as an example, where there isn't really much criticism of that when it comes to the prices. It's kind of an expectation. Whereas that's not the same case when it comes to Pokemon. And more specifically, you see
We're
a
talking
lot
two
more
sets
of
though, Eli.
like an aggravation towards it. Because like with like sports, obviously there's always heated debate when it comes to sports teams and rivals, but when it comes to like, you don't really see online people fighting for Super Bowl tickets in the same way you do with people in Costco. What are your kind of stances on that, and more specifically like the representation that it's kind of left on the hobby?
What's the question? What are my thoughts on it?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like the kind of example you gave was like scalping is not a specific issue to Pokemon, right? And obviously, although you believe scalping is a bad thing, you're more specifically saying that it's not something that's just only in Pokemon. Don't hear people complaining about it specifically when it comes to Super Bowl prices. You obviously look at it as a luxury. Luxuries are luxury. It's not something that, someone can't live without. I guess my question that I was trying to ask was more specifically, well, so then why do you think it is that you don't have any sort of controversy when it comes to scalping in Super Bowl tickets, whereas you see it more specifically with Pokemon, especially as there's been a lot of videos that have been representing the hobby in a negative light because of the amount of fights that people have gotten into in Costco, Targets, and other places as they rush to literally get into fistfights over product?
Well, I think people were upset when Super Bowl tickets started to get really expensive when they first started to like really have massive price rises. I know there was tons of controversy about ticket prices of concerts. Like people are unhappy, like maybe not to the point where they're getting in fights at Target, but you don't buy, those things at a retail location. So I think people are unhappy about all these things, right? There's always going to be unhappy groups. But like I just don't understand why those groups point to certain people or certain like groups in the hobby as it being their fault. Because if you could invest in Pokemon for years and years with no issues, if you could run a business in Pokemon for years and years with no issues, if we had rip and shippers and whatnot and all these things around for years now with no issues, the fact that now that the scalping and all the high prices are an issue tells you it cannot, that completely nullifies and voids the fact that it's any one of these people's fault. And it's literally the fault of Pokemon by not putting out enough product to stop the scalping. Because the one thing that stops scalping is too much product available, which doesn't, there's too much product for the amount of demand, which keeps prices low. Then the scalpers aren't able to make a profit. They lose all their money, all their pre-orders and all the bots that ordered for them, and they go away naturally and prices regulate. So that's my only take on this whole thing.
Do you think it's the responsibilities of big box retailers and storefronts to limit their product, or more specifically, how do you think that should be handled? Because obviously that's become such an issue with people coming in and trying to buy out stores entirely and, resell it on the secondary market. Like, I guess that's another question, I guess to even lead into as well when it comes to, concerns over being able to get access to this product available at these stores comparatively to having to go secondary market and go buy it off a place like Facebook and such.
I mean, obviously, it's not my place to comment on how businesses run their business. You're asking if I, like I said, had a card shop or I manage a big box store, I mean, I would limit them, but I don't think it's going to change anything, right? Because, you know, a family could come in, right? A 5-person family, everyone could grab one, right? So they're getting 5 instead of 1. You know, you could have, and the lines are just gonna be so long that there's not enough to go around at each individual location. So, you know, yeah, they would last for a few extra people, right? But it's not going to change the underlying issue. Like, again, I think pointing the blame at stores is another problem. Like, why can stores have, you know, all of these other products that they sell that they don't have this problem with? Is because there's enough supply. People don't feel like, you know, there's a shortage or they're not going to be able to get any. And that's why were these stores able to sell all these products for the last 6, 8, 10, 12 months, years before that? Why were they able to do that? Because there was no shortages. And so this pointing blame at other people who may have different takes or enjoy the hobby differently or run businesses in the hobby as being the problem, they're not the problem. The problem is there's not enough supply for the demand. It's that simple. There's literally nothing more to it.
Yeah, I guess the resolution.
The free markets regulate themselves. If Pokemon dumped, you know, literally, remember, like, imagine this number. If they literally dumped 10 million ETBs on the market right now, and every distributor gave every store the max amount they asked for, and every Walmart got pallets so they could just refill the shelves every day with hundreds a day, the market would regulate. It would go down. That's the free market, supply versus demand.
Well, I feel like, to kind of maybe give my own like perspective on everything Alex has been responding to, one thing that I believe Pokemon understands extremely well, is that when it comes to just any market in general, if you don't have a competition, then product itself is not going to go down in price. And what I mean by that is, this is, like Alex says, it's a market that relies solely on supply and demand. And if you, hypothetically speaking, say, okay, well, Pokemon doesn't have any competitors, right? They run the market, they run everything themselves. So how are they going to address individual items to price correct? Well, if you just individually print one specific item, well, then obviously it's going to be really difficult for that demand to not just still go funnel into that one specific item. What you have to do is you almost have to have these products compete against one another by having them all get printed at once. Because now it no longer is a conversation of, hey, let's just reprint 151. All right, cool. Everyone take all your money, put it into 151 because it's the only option. But if you give people the ability to have options where, crap, 151, Prismatic, Surging, Stellar, Paradox, like, you just list like 5, 6, 7 different sets, and they all come in and dump onto the market. It's no longer a question of, okay, is there an issue of inventory? It's, holy crap, I only have so much money I can spend. I have to now pick and choose. And the ones that are obviously going to be chosen the most are presumably going to be ones that hold up a lot stronger. And then the ones that were propped up because of scarcity that now are being outshined by better sets that have higher demand are going to then see the greatest correction, because the supply itself is going to be much greater as it doesn't get eaten up as quickly when all of this other product starts to get eaten up faster.
Yeah, it's like we want to like insulate ourselves in this hobby like it's not real life. Guys, all the same rules of life apply. Like someone said in the comments, you know, there's been fights over eggs at Costco recently because egg prices are skyrocketing in certain parts of the country. Like
toilet paper.
Yeah, dude, imagine this. Imagine if you go to New York City and you like in an instant you could snap your fingers and suddenly all the cab drivers and Uber drivers were decreased by like, you know, 90% and you only have 10% left. You'll see the same fights. You will see people like clawing each other's eyes to get a taxi cab and get an Uber. It's just like when you have too much demand for something and not enough supply, this happens. It's just a small point in time. Guys, we are talking about 2 sets. 2 sets have made everyone lose their minds. Everything before this was fine. You could have got as much Stellar as you wanted. It was cheap. $100 or less a box, depending on how much you wanted. Every set before that, Paladin Fates, everyone loves the Bubble Mew and the Paladin Fates now. No one wanted those ETBs. They were $40. The Bubble Mew was relatively cheap, right? Paladin Evolve was $80 a box. I know because I bought cases of it at that price when nobody wanted it. Now everyone's freaking out. It's $200. I mean, Evolve, everything in Pokemon's been cheap except these 2 sets right now. And then during the pandemic, there were a few sets there. There was like vivid battle styles, shining fate. There were a few sets they freak out. Everything else goes back to normal. They print things down to the ground. That's why we saw those sets go to $80, like Chilling Fusion battle styles. It'll happen again. Maybe Battle Partners is one of those sets that gets massively reprinted, drops to freaking $90, $100, gets crushed, but it will regulate. It's just don't freak out and try to trash the entire hobby and trash everyone in the hobby because literally 2 sets have came out of the gate hot and they're above MSRP. This isn't like a widespread problem that's going to be like detrimental to the entire hobby. It just, things don't fix themselves this quickly. Things take time in life to regulate out and they'll get there.
Yeah. I think we're in a a weird spot in the hobby where I don't know if this is the best way to kind of articulate or explain at least what I feel like I'm seeing is you have 2 different camps. You have the camps of the people that are more specifically saying, hey man, product availability is not as, or sorry, not product availability, product pricing is not as bad as it really seems because you have so much product that is roughly around MSRP pricing. If we're going off of MSRP pricing, this is not that bad. But then you also have other people in the other camp that are saying, well, if that's the case, then we should respect MSRP pricing and you shouldn't be able to sell above it. But yet ultimately you have a situation where we're now in where MSRP pricing wasn't respected for the past several years up until about COVID, obviously. And so it's like this weird situation where it's like, okay, do we really care about MSRP or do we only care about MSRP when it kind of is good for our argument that we're trying to make, not to say that it isn't a concern in terms of general pricing period, because obviously Prismatic selling for 120 in ETB is a little crazy. But it is to say that we need to be realistic in what the issue is in the hobby. And now I don't know if Alex will agree with me on this, but I think that the issue has less to do with the general pricing in the market. And I think it has more to do with the fact of the matter when it comes to product availability, because you see a lot of everyday consumers, at least from an anecdotal perspective, right, that come into my shop and they are more concerned about being able to find product readily available locally where they are purchasing in store, whether it be big box retailers or whether it just be locally. Because I'm not even kidding you, like we're the only shop that has 151 product, right? Like all of the other shops in the local Arizona area don't have 151. And the only reason why we have 151 is just because we had a literal stock of 151 that we found in like the back shelf. And we were like, oh my God, this has just been sitting here for how long? And then we added it to the shelf. And then we had people, as soon as they found word that they had it, they were like freaking out because it's just not available at like any of the local stores. Because the minute it's there, it gets sold immediately. Doesn't matter if it's 10% above market price, doesn't matter if it's 20%, like it gets bought quick. And so I feel like for a lot of people, they just want to have the ability to be able to go in, purchase the product right then and there in person. And with kind of the representation that you're seeing right now on social media and what I've experienced locally, people are more concerned about making sure that they don't have to fight for their product if they want to go pick it up same day rather than have to, basically go get it secondhand from someone who went and scalped it previously, because that's a thing. Like I remember, and this is why we chose the model we did for Prismatic on limiting as well as pricing not too aggressively low, because there were people that were already selling Prismatic ETBs on the secondary market on Facebook for 190 in ETB, which I know for a lot of us sounds crazy, but like it's because people wanted to pay the premium to get the product on release day in hand, like right then and there. And so it's like, there's people that are trying to take advantage of others in that way. And they're willing to take the price. It's consensual. It's not like this individual isn't agreeing to that price point, but ultimately it'd be a lot easier if that individual didn't have to go do some shady dealings in order to get their product, but they could instead go into a big box retailer and be able to get access to that product more readily available. But ultimately, as we all are aware, this isn't going to be resolved unless Pokemon starts to address more specifically the supply, or you start to see big box retailers do limits, which of course, that's up to the discretion of the big box retailer to begin with. That's not for us to say because it's their business. They can operate it how they want. We can just criticize.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with part of that. The only thing I don't agree with is that, you know, in 2025, I mean, as much as people don't want to act like it, the majority of shopping is done online. Like, you say you trust it or not, but I mean, if you look at eBay and TCG player sales of Prismatic and of their Pokemon product, and honestly, even talking to my local LGS, like they even tell me like, you know, if they wouldn't have opened up and done as much business online, I mean, that accounts for a huge part of their revenue, especially when things weren't this hot. Like, you know, they wouldn't have been doing very well. And so I think I still think the majority of sales in the hobby still happen online, even though card shops are a very necessary place, you know, obviously for coming to, you know, gameplay, like coming for knowledge, you know, buying shell singles, you know, complete decks and things like that. I still think the majority of sealed product still moves online. And so looking at that, looking at the sales data, it just tells me that like you have a place to get the product. You just don't, a lot of people just don't agree with the price, so they don't want to pay that price, right? It'd be like, you know, you have anything at Walmart or Target that you want. It'd be like going there and they don't have it, and you saying, oh well, you know, Amazon or Walmart.com has it for, you know, $30 more, and you saying, well, no, I'm not going to buy that. That's too much. I'll trek back next week. And it's just like you have a choice to make, right? And you could say it's not fair to pay that extra price. I get that, but it is available, right? Because I mean, I've bought them. Like I buy. I don't think people think I have this big distribution, but Eli could tell you, I don't get any product from distro. I got zero blooming waters. I got 5 ETBs of Prismatic Evolutions, 5, right? I get like 0 to maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of each item that comes out. And a lot of these newer ones, I'm getting 0 because the print ones are so small. I got 0 binder collections. I got 0 3-pack blister or tech sticker collections of Prismatic. I got 0. So this idea that I have all this distro connection and I get all this product, I don't get really any. And a lot of the product you see behind me, I buy from the open market at full price. I'll try to work some bulk deals with people. I'll try to work it off at a platform on like an Instagram or a Discord. But I'm doing the same thing everyone else. I'm buying at full price, and I think you just have to make that decision of, do I want to pay the market price or do I want to wait? And that's the decision we have to make for every item in life, I think.
Well, and I was very open and transparent about what specifically we got allocated, obviously, in the program and how much I took for Prismatic. Like I took roughly around 5% of the total allocation pool. So we didn't even get a lot, right, for Prismatic. I mean, in terms of like the actual the binder collections, I think we got like 5 cases. So it's like it wasn't a lot. I would have
I was
liked
buying Blooming Waters off Hills Wholesale Gaming. That's where I got my
have
151 packs. I've been buying Blooming Waters from Hills.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, man, because it's one of those things where it's like I want to obviously take more for the shop and myself, but at the end of the day, it's like there's just not a lot to go around, period. And it's like people got to get taken care of first. You know, like I'm grateful for what we're getting personally with Journey, because at least, you know, we're gonna get more product from Journey than we have previously for booster box sets. So that's going to be good for us in terms of me being able to pull more for the shop. But it's definitely something with Prismatic where it felt like for what the demand was, it was just really tough to handle. Yeah. So, which we haven't even talked about that. We never talked about that. We'll talk about that and then we can transition to questions because we're already running pretty late on that.
What's up?
For Journey Together, our numbers. So I talked about it already in the wholesale program. And I don't want to get too controversial here because I don't want to directly call anyone out. But I feel like the biggest problem that I see right now in the space is that there's a misrepresentation of how things are being handled in terms of allocation allotment. I understand, obviously, that there are a lot of people that are putting in numbers that historically would never have and they're getting access to product, but it's not like they're just giving 10, 20, 30 cases for people that just don't have Pokemon spend. Because it's like I talked to my distro, our main distro, and he told me that 90% of his clients that usually wouldn't, like literally just 90% of his clients, period, whether they usually would or usually wouldn't put in numbers for Pokemon, they got 1 case or less for Prismatic. So it's like the people that did get the majority of the product were the ones that had historically spent. Like one of our other distros, which were not were definitely not consistent when it comes to ordering with them because they're very inconsistent with us, but we still had a decent amount of spend with them. We didn't even get allocated like more than 2 cases, and we've spent well over several $100,000 with them. So it's like I feel like there's this lack of understanding how the allocation system really works, and people are putting too much weight into the fact that it's just a demand issue. And if you look at least our allocations, this is purely anecdotal, our numbers were not cut in the same way as we've seen some people share. Because for me, like, our Pokemon spend, it hasn't changed. Like, our main distro, we got roughly, with surging, we got one case less than what we did with Journey. So in other words, we got one more case with Journey compared to surging. Now, that's not to say that other people haven't obviously experienced a decrease, or who's to say people experienced an increase, right? It's just, I feel like when I hear this term like short supply being thrown around, it feels like it's being thrown around without any real weight kind of actually like being thrown around behind it, and people are just saying that for the sake of kind of them representing how they feel about their allocation numbers being so much less than they were hoping it to be. And that's something that it's definitely been a little bit frustrating in my personal opinion, because I think that we're just in a situation now more than ever where demand in the market is just extremely high. Everyone's not getting as much as they would usually like to get, but also the exact same time, when it came to my experience with Stellar, my rep was like, hey man, you can get as much Stellar as you want. Like, literally, you put in a number, we will fill it. That was something that wasn't the case with surging, and it's obviously not the case with Journey. So it's like we're just in a different time now where you can't just willy-nilly go put in numbers and get everything you asked for in the same way, because we're just in a different landscape of the market, and people need to realize that and just understand that you can't compare apples to oranges in that regard.
I'm gonna respond to one more thing. After Eli, then we'll take questions. I don't even know how to like put this. Like, all right, because I want to respond to someone in the chat at, tell me to think about things a different way. So here's how I think about things, guys. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. Grew up very middle class. Got very used to hearing no. I think we've become accustomed to not hearing no. Our parents, remember when your parents would tell you no, and you want a toy in an aisle, and they would say no, maybe for your birthday, maybe for Christmas, and then maybe you get a couple packs here or there. Why have we come to this time where every kid out there, every person deserves to have unlimited amount of cards, unlimited amount of packs, every newest thing? They deserve it. They deserve it. I guess I grew up in a time where I was, told that, hey, you don't deserve things, you earn things. And that, basically that's why I see things the way I do, is because I grew up like that, right? I grew up not getting every single thing I wanted. I grew up knowing that some things were more expensive than what my parents could give me. And, maybe I'd get something special at a birthday or a Christmas, or maybe sometimes they would surprise me with a pack or two. And so, like, when I see all this complaining, I just see things as, okay, so someone doesn't get a box of Pokemon cards this week or this month, or why is that the end of the freaking world? I guess is the way I see it. So hate me for it, but that's why I see things the way I do. Sorry, Tina, and everyone else asking me about it, if it's not the way you see it. Like, we can see things different way and still be friends. Me and Eli were just disagreeing on stuff before this call. We're still good.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, of course. I feel like that's what you need in any sort of civil society, is an understanding of disagreements while still being civil. It's, if you're gonna have your disagreements, but you can't let that divide you. That's kind of stupid. All right, you ready for questions, baby?
Let's do it, baby.
All right, current prices. What do we like more, Temporal, Paradox, or Stellar?
I'm still a fan of Temporal, guys. I mean, I know Paradox is a great set. Stellar, it's got the Bulbasaur, Squirtle. Don't count those out. I just really like Temporal. To me, it feels like there was less supply out there from, like, just being in the hobby. It felt like there was less. I don't know if that's really true, but it just felt like it was always more scarce, especially by cases of booster boxes. And I do really like the legendary dogs that other people don't on those cards. I like the Raging Bolt, the Suicune, the Walking Wake, and the Gouging Fire. Iron Crown's great. I like that Ghastly card. I'm a fan of Temporal.
Have people said that they don't like Temporal?
Yeah, a lot of people say they don't like the future past, like, Paradox, Temporal, like stuff.
But that's literally. But wait a second. That's Paradox as well, though.
Yeah. That's like the past and then temporal. Or no,
Well,
paradox is the future.
I guess
Temporal is the
no.
past.
What I'm saying is, you said people don't like temporal because they don't like the past or present. But if
They
our
don't
own,
like those. No, like, I meant like they don't like the past renditions of the legendary,
oh, I see. I
beast or
was about to say,
dogs.
bro, Iron
Yeah,
Valiant and Roaring Moon are the exact same thing. Like,
yeah,
what
yeah. No, I'm not.
paradox is literally just a
That's
different
me. That's on
variation
me.
of that. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying with that. I actually like the past renditions. Funny enough, I don't think they're that bad. I mean, I would say my least favorite is the Raikou. That's just me personally. Um,
The Raging Bolt
yeah, I don't know why, man. I don't like it.
card's beautiful. All right.
I don't
See,
know.
now I hate you.
Yeah, fair. I hate myself as well. That's a fair assessment. Um, I agree. I like temporal more. I think temporal is definitely a set that I feel like if you're talking current prices, it definitely seems a lot safer. Derek, shout out to Derek for the $5. How do I buy product from the distro program Discord? I sent you an IG message. Want it to start? I'm already a member. Thanks. So Derek, I think you messaged this last time on stream. You have to join the Discord through the link down in the description below of this video or any video I post. We're not active right now on our Instagram, so I literally don't even have Instagram downloaded. So if you want to get in touch with me and message me directly on Discord, literally link down the description below from there. And then if you just type in the general chat, then I can have one of my mods ping you, or I can DM you, or if you can DM me specifically, because you're going to see me on the side as, Pokemaster, Pokemart USA. Like, it's very easy for me to reach out to you, but you have to make sure you click the link down in the description below this video. It's on literally every single one of my videos. Link down in the description below to join the Discord. So
But
that's how.
I think he's asking like for the program. Like, the program's closed.
No, but he's saying that he's already a member.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying if he wants to message me, he has to do it through Discord. I don't respond to IGs. Just so everyone knows, I don't respond to IGs. So if you ever have questions in the program, don't respond to Instagram. I'm not on Instagram.
Let's see when the last time Eli posted on Instagram was.
Oh god, dude. I think it was like at least over a year to year and a half ago. It was so long ago.
Yeah, May 11th, 2023. Woo!
Yeah, a little over a year ago.
That was for your break, bar. That was for your vintage break.
Dude,
he was a breaker.
Dude, that vintage break. Man.
Dude, you were an evil rip and shipper, bro.
Dude, that was so fun.
How does it feel to be evil?
Dude, I was selling the packs below market price. Thank you very much.
Oh, so you're not evil?
No, I'm not.
But you probably like
I should have gouged
profit
people
somehow.
Bro, I was offering an insane deal. I was selling Supreme Victors pack for $120, and I was selling like platinum packs for 90. Like, Supreme Victors at the time was selling for 150 plus on eBay. Like, I don't know. I got a really good deal on them. So for me, I was like, hell yeah. Like, I just want to do I'm like, bro, I'm not going to justify dropping like 10 grand opening these packs. Like, I have to do a break. And like, I want people to be on board and be a part of this, because this is going to be so fun to do. It was the most fun by far I've had doing a break. It's not even close. Like, people might hate me for saying this, but like, for me, one of the reasons why I stopped doing breaks was because it just didn't feel genuine when I was doing like the more modern breaks. It felt like I had to like have a lot of energy that I just wasn't like. You get kind of numb to it, like I remember when I was trying to open Stellar, it was one of these you can disagree with me on this, right? This is just,
I love it, bro. You don't like pulling cards?
No, I don't, dude. My employees,
big hobbyist guys.
My employees always ask me like, when do you ever open packs? I'm like, dude, I haven't opened packs in so long. This
is how I don't go broke, is doing a rip and ship. Because if I didn't rip for other people, I'd probably waste too much ripping for myself.
See, I can't.
It gives me that hit.
For me, I have gotten to the point where like I've opened so many packs that it's like any sort of addiction. You're just like, your dopamine hit needs to be bigger and bigger. And so for me, it's like the level of dopamine hit I get from opening Paldea Evolved versus like a $100 platinum base pack. Like it hits different, dude. I'm like freaking out when I'm opening in $100 pack. And so for me, it's like really difficult because sure, it's like cool if I hit the Iono, but and I'll freak out if I hit the magic card. But if someone's trying to get me to get excited over opening a $10 card, like I can't fake that. Like I'm not gonna get excited if I go hit like a $5 SIR. Like I'm sorry, but like a $5 hit, like I'm excited that we got a hit. But if you open Fusion Strike and you got a Sanaconda 5 times in a row, I'm not gonna sit here and be like freaking love this. Cause dude, in my shop,
the fit. I understand what you're saying, like the fakeness of some people,
dude, because in my shop, bro, in my shop, I'm not even kidding you, we've opened so much Fusion in the shop. We don't have any more. We sold out. It was the first thing we actually sold out of in the shop for packs. But Fusion, we've opened a grand total of like well over 1,000 packs, and we've pulled about 10 alternate arts. And of those 10, I'm not bullshitting you, like this is a straight fact, 7 of them were Sanacondas. 7 of them. 7 of them. So sitting there
I've
trying to be excited for my customers and like my friends that were opening with me, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, dude, that sucks. Out of all the alt arts you could hit, it's the Sanaconda. That's brutal, you know.
When I've even seen streams where people are pulling prismatic Pokeballs and they're like getting like they'll pull like a, oh my gosh, Professor Seda Pokeball. Oh, it's just like,
yeah. I can't do that. I can't do that. Like when someone pulled the Espeon in the shop, I was like, I literally flipped over a chair. Like I got so excited when they pulled the Espeon. I was like losing it. But that's like, because for me, when you get a big hit like that, there's a huge rush. But if I'm like sitting here and I've got like a 5-hour stream and I'm opening like 1,000 packs, and I have to get excited over every $5 card that we hit just for the sake of getting excited. Like, I don't know. It just felt disingenuine. Like if someone got a big hit, I always got excited. Always got excited. But it's the
big
hit.
You had to get excited for $5 hits.
Dude, I'm such a sucker, man. I remember someone said specifically in one of my like breaks, they were like, dude, we just pulled a $10 card and Eli didn't even acknowledge it. What the heck? And I'm just like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I was like, oh, we got this hit. Like, that's cool. I was like, I just didn't, the enthusiasm wasn't there. And I'm just not here to fake that, you know? So with like,
that's why you do what you do, man. You enjoy it.
So with vintage packs, every hit is a hit, right? Because you're like, dude, I just got a pop 5 card, which if it hits a 10, it's now worth X amount. Or I got a level X card that
hold on, stop. So it's only cool because it's worth X amount.
Oh, dude, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. We like to chase cards that are worth money here. Isn't that crazy?
All about the money. I thought it's about the art, bro.
Dude,
it's not about the money. This is a hobby, Eli.
I know, my bad, bro. I forgot I'm a shill sometimes. I kind of forget that part.
I'm talking about money.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
But yeah. Anyway. Oh, speaking of which, Don Harrington, shout out to him for $5. Thank you so much, good sir. Rabbit or taters, obviously got to give it to the dude.
Happy late birthday to Don, by the way. Don, I threw in some birthday presents in your order from last night.
Oh, so, that's nice of you.
Let me know how those go when they get to
you. Shout out to Don on that, dude. PE or 151, Alex or Eli, lol.
What is PE?
Prismatic Evolutions.
Not how they evolved.
Dude, isn't that throw you off? I only know it because it's 151.
It needs to be like Priz or something. Priz.
Dude, I got flack for saying PE was better than 151. I still don't understand that.
I like 151, dude. Look, it could be a hot take. I like all the alt art evolutions better than the prismatic evolutions.
All the alt art evolutions.
I like the Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon from the collection boxes, the Espeon from Fusion, and all the Evolution VMAXs from Evolving Skies. I'll take all of those over all the prismatic ones.
I just think the art's better. But that's not the hot take. That's not a hot take.
Well, what I'm saying though is like that's why like PE doesn't hit the same for me. Like those evolutions just don't do it for me. That's why I like 151 better.
Yeah.
Now I think those. I'm sure the Umbreon's always going to be worth more than the 151 Charizard, though.
I think for me, the reason why I say prismatic is not because, like, I don't disagree with you, or I don't disagree with you to a certain extent. I think the reason why the set itself is so good is because it's not just the EVs that make the set, right? you not only have all these awesome EVs, but you also have Master Balls being introduced into English. You also have God Packs being introduced into English. You also have cards past the EVs, such as the Roaring Moon, the Dragapult, Raging Bolt, and the Blood Moon Ursaluna. I love that Blood Moon Ursaluna card. I think that card is sick looking. Some people will agree or disagree with me on the Pikachu gold card, whether they like it or not. You've got some other amazing SIRs in the set, whether it be trainer SIRs or whether it be just other miscellaneous Pokemon SIRs that I already did or didn't mention. Like the set itself is ridiculously deep. Like ridiculously deep. So it's not just like EVs and that's it. It's like 4 different things on top of that, right?
Yeah.
And so like although it's cool, like 151's a good set and you can get like demigod packs, there's just a lot more depth to the set when it comes to Paldea Evolved, that even if you sit here and say you don't like the EVs
what?
because you think Evolving's better.
Prismatic Evolutions.
Yeah. Does that you change? Yeah. It's the Master Ball.
No, I'm saying you said Paldea Evolved.
That was sorry, Paldea Evolved. Prismatic Evolutions. Yeah, like the Master Ball, dude, like whether you think it's overvalued or not, doesn't matter. Right? Doesn't matter. It is what it is. But like when you're freaking out over someone pulling a Master Ball Umbreon and you're like, that card goes for over like $300-400. Like that's insane.
That's like another reason I don't like the set. Like I'm not a fan of the Master Ball Pokeballs.
You don't like Master Balls? I think they're cool. I actually didn't. I thought
I don't like vintage though. So
when
it reminds me of just a normal box card, like just with a Master Ball. And I'd rather have an illustration rare. It looks way better.
It's like when I first heard about it with 151 and how you had like the Pikachu Master Ball going for over $500, I was like, dude, this is so dumb. Like this is so overvalued. Like for Japanese 151, I was like, this is so dumb. Like I can't believe people are paying all this money. Like this is really stupid. Seeing it in person, I'm like, okay, I kind of get it a little bit because
Wouldn't you rather have an Umbreon illustration though than an Umbreon Master Ball?
Okay, well, yeah, but that's hard to compare. One of them is 5 times greater than the other one.
They took the place of illustrations, though, so like that's kind of what you're comparing it to.
When you say illustration rare, are you saying
like Shrouded, stuff like that? Like I would rather have a sick Umbreon
I see what you're saying.
SIR.
I see what you're saying.
So I just don't like how they replaced.
Yeah, but that didn't take the place of it though.
They did in Prismatic. It did. There's no illustration rares.
No, I understand there's no illustration rares, but like I don't think they specifically said, hey, there's no illustration rares because we added Master Balls.
Well, like I think the hit rates are similar, and like I don't know, it just seems like that's kind of the hit in the spot where their illustration should be. I guess it's in the same slot in this pack. It just I don't know.
I guess it's hard for me to like compare that because like when it comes to the set as a whole, like there's so much in it compared to 151. 151 has way less SIRs. Comparably, like it's got the Alakazam, it's got obviously the trio, it's got a couple of the trainers, and then it's got the Zapdos card, which is pretty cool. And I think there's like 1 or 2 more that I'm missing for like the SIRs. This set has like
definitely makes master collecting rough.
This set has like 25 to 30 SIR. Like it's got double the amount of SIRs at least. I think what makes it hard is, and here's my perspective. People are probably going to flame me for this. I think part and parcel, people are less complaining about this set. I think people are more complaining about this set compared to 151 because the pull rates are much harder for SIRs. Like SIRs and specifically IRs, right, are so much easier to hit in 151. Whereas like you come to Prismatic and like the odds are ridiculous for SIRs, right? Like it's insane. And even then, like when it comes to the Pokeballs, like let's use the argument that you're making or the example that you're making about them getting rid of IRs compared to Master Balls. With like the IRs, for the most part, it was pretty high probability wise that you were going to get like a Bulbasaur or a Charmander or like one of the 3. Like it was very rare that you, at least in my personal experience, right? Like pretty often we would see one of those get pulled in the shop. Whereas like if you open a Master Ball, because there are so many Master Ball cards, your odds and probability wise of you hitting one of the EV Master Balls is so much harder. And so like a lot of people are not as excited because they're not getting the big hitter master balls because the scarcity is so much greater. Like there's just such an issue with pull rates for people getting the big cards compared to with 151. It was a fun set for a lot of people to open because they're like, dude, I literally can open an ETB and I get an SIR almost every time. Like, and we actually had that like in the shop because I think I've talked about this. We have like a wall of fame where we incentivize people to open hits in the shop or open product in the shop. And if they get a top 5 chase card, we like take a Polaroid picture and like date it and everything. And literally we had people constantly come in when 151 was like more available and they opened ETBs, and literally I'm pretty certain almost every single ETB, there was always at least an SIR, if not every other ETB. So it was very easy to pull. All right, let's go to the next question. I need to scroll up now. I apologize. I scrolled all the way down. Holy crap, dude. There's been so many messages. This is actually insane. I apologize. It's going to take me a second. Okay. I scrolled up to it. Did you hear that Forge and Fire doxed a customer for criticizing him?
That's not cool.
I don't know. I
don't know
didn't
if they
hear
did or didn't, but they did. That's shouldn't be
done. Yeah. I didn't hear anything about that. Obviously, if that's something they did do, that's wrong. If that's something they didn't do and it's just a rumor, then that's not cool. I don't know. It's weird. Like, hopefully this doesn't come off the wrong way. I've heard things about Forge and Fire pretty consistently. There's always, it feels like controversy around them. So it's like, I'm not saying that means they did it for certain, but I guess I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me because this is not the first time they've had a scandal. I feel like I've heard at least once every 6 months something Forge and Fire did that upset someone. I don't know why it's them specifically, but it seems to be a common thing. I don't know if you have any sort of personal experience or take on that. I don't know.
I don't have any take on.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about Forge.
Yeah. It's hard to say because it's like
I don't really know much about them like personally or their owners or any of that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's only what you've kind of heard in the rumor mill, and what seems to be consistent is that Forge and Fire seems to be in the rumor mill a lot. Do you think? Oh, oopsie. Do you think that PC sells to distro as they do with accounts like MJ Holding price wise? No, I don't think so. I think they get better prices.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
You think MJ Holding is better prices than distributors do? So you 100%. Think MJ Holding is paying less than Southern Hobby?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the reason for that, in my opinion, is because, like, it's my opinion, I think that they are looking at their straight like mainline distribution connections and they're saying to themselves, we have one distributor that we can ship and they're going to have 4 regional warehouse locations versus we can ship to one big box retailer like a Costco, right? Or like a Walmart. And they've got thousands of locations all across the country and they're multi-billion dollar businesses, right? And
but
so
isn't that the same though as shipping to a distributor?
Well, no, because when you're shipping to a distributor, you're only having to ship to one specific location. And then obviously the distributors are going to distribute. Now, you can say from a distribution model, technically it's the same, but the difference is the consistent level of pushing of a product. It's way more reliable with a big box retailer. Because like with a big box retailer, you have the consistency of the brand of something like a Walmart or like a Costco that you know your product's going to sell. But when you handle with distribution, you have distributors that are either going to sit on product and they're not going to be able to move it as consistently, or they're going to sell it to shops that might not have the same level of credibility. And there's a lot more concern about the identity of the product and how it's being distributed versus if you say, hey man, We're going to go send it to some multi-billion-dollar corporation that's going to be able to mass distribute the product, and we can more directly have them be able to handle it for us, and we don't have to deal with all the individuals and that are kind of interconnected through the distribution center with like retailers or LGSs. I feel like there's definitely a motivation for them to sell it for less, especially considering too, when you look at places like Costco, for example, right? There's a lot less scrutiny over Costco when it comes to their pricing on things comparatively to something like distribution. And like, is distribution holding back product from consumers? And are they actually giving people a good price? Because it feels like you never hear that with like Costco. Like Costco is literally frequently like referred to in Reddit posts about like Costco got this amazing deal that they're offering. So it just feels like not only from like an overall experience perspective, but also from like a PR perspective, there's a lot less headache that you have to deal with. And I feel like there's a premium that comes with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just taking, we're just.
This is super hypothetical. Yeah, this is super hypothetical.
I mean, it sounds legitimate. It sounds like a good explanation.
Yeah. Dude, crystal ball question, Alex.
Oh, I don't have the 8-ball.
Price target for, dude, I'm telling you, I need to get a crystal ball. It's like, I just need it. You got your 8-ball, I got my crystal ball, and we just need to start like really thinking long and hard about how we want to utilize these items to our advantage. Because how else are we going to answer these questions, you know? Do you have a price target for Sword and Shield and SV set end of year? I don't know, man. That's such a hard thing to answer. 2025 is such a question mark year, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The market's, the problem is it's like you're not guessing a price point. You're guessing on a market. Like it's much 100%. Easier to predict when the markets are stable and you can predict like normal average price growth. Like, you know, this market's so unstable. Like there could be a big pullback. There could be massive reprints. Like, you know, here, we'll just say this. If everything stays the way it is, I'll give you an answer on if everything stays the way it is. I think all the Sword and Shield sets right now on this pullback are discounts. I think it's a great pickup. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Brilliance back under 300. Lost Origins back in the mid threes. Like Chilling, Fusion, Evolving. They're all like 10% off their highs almost. That seems like a good time to pick things up because no more reprints are coming for those. And, you know, like if everything stays the same, it's likely they're going to stabilize and be higher at the end of the year than they are now.
Yeah, LO dropped to 345, 350, and it was at one point selling for 420, 430. Like that's a pretty good like pullback. And it seems like a discount in my opinion. Like seems like a really, really good price right now. So I agree with you on that. I think Sword and Shield is more than likely going to go back up again in the next 12 months. I have absolutely no clue when that's going to be because I don't have a crystal ball, but
if you did, we could really answer that.
Nah, exactly. So Scarlet and Violet's much harder of a question because we just don't know what that's going to look like with Pokemon resupplies because it's been so long. You know, because there's easily an argument that could be made that Pokemon at this point is going to be more focused on the new high demand sets coming out, that we could see like a massive dump come into the market with sets like Twilight Forward and then us not see anything happen with the older sets. Or you could see it where they dump older sets as well as newer sets. Like we just don't know like what's going to get touched and what's not, you know?
Yeah.
All right, let's see another question. Do you guys think Scarlet and Violet booster box will increase at a higher rate than Sun and Moon booster boxes because they're so expensive to get at the start?
Higher price or higher rate?
I think what he's, yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't know actually.
I mean, the percentage gain might be worse.
Yeah,
they may get to $300-$400 a box faster, but the percentage gain may not be as good because you can't buy them $80-$90. So
I agree.
Yeah, I think they could be higher priced faster, but maybe not better, or maybe the same gains or a little worse. Hard to tell, man.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's really another way to articulate that because it's like it's true. You're seeing people anxiously place pre-orders with stores not knowing what the new set is at 160 plus, because the anticipation for the set is that it's going to be good. Like that's, but
Yeah.
whereas before it was like sub $100, you know?
My strategy is very simple, guys. Like it's elementary. It doesn't take, you don't have to be an investing, freaking mastermind or wizard to do this. And it has nothing to do with trying to go scalp, targets and be, one of the evil people. It's literally this simple. If you feel like that there's a product, right, that based on the past history and past data in Pokemon that you think is going to double in price in the next 3, 4, 5 years, well, then that's, on average faster than you're going to double your money in an S&P index or a mutual fund, which is like kind of the stable investments what most 401ks and Roth IRAs are invested into. Then that's where I put money into Pokemon. If I feel I can make more money on an investment in the same amount of time, I put Pokemon. So when things were $80, $90, I said, I don't think there's a world where these are not at least 180 to 200 in the next 3, 4, 5 years. So it made sense. If boxes are 2 something out of the gate, I had to ask myself, well, with all the reprints, with the market possibly cooling off, what's more likely? Are these really going to be $500 or $450, $500 in the next 3, 4, 5 years, or is money going to be better put somewhere else? And honestly, I don't know if there's a clear answer there, and it's not as easy. It's not as clear as it used to be, and so it's not as attractive as it used to be. Now, boxes fall back to 110, 120, 130, it becomes more attractive. So it's a constant kind of juggling act on price points and what you see if you're wanting to invest in the stuff. If you're wanting to open it, don't listen to me. I'm just an evil investor.
Wondering if Pokemon is charging distros more and that's why distros are essentially at market price. No, I don't think that's the case. I could be wrong, right? I don't have exact evidence of it, but the one thing I will say that I know Pokemon does is they do bundle to distros and then distros bundle to us. I can say that. I can't confirm pricing because that's stuff that's supposed to not be disclosed, but I can know that they bundle the bundle. So, but I doubt it that the pricing is necessarily changing. So, because that kind of defeats the whole purpose then of like why put out MSRP period if you as a manufacturer are going to consistently change your top end revenue margin for your consumer or your retailer. Like that just doesn't make sense.
Overhaul, and I'll take this real quick. We ship orders out next day on stream, so that's what I hired an employee for, and so
Hell yeah,
all
baby.
orders are shipped out next day.
All right, moving to the next question. If PPC promos keep getting printed, won't there eventually become a norm and not be as valued or comparable to first edition stamps in the long term?
Are PC promos being reprinted?
I don't think, no, he's not saying reprinted. He's saying if they keep getting printed, won't they eventually become norm and not as valued to compare to first edition stamps in the long term? I think what he's saying, and maybe I'm just interpreting this wrong, but I think what he's saying is that if like Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, specifically the promo cards, the stamps, become more normal of a thing where you see it like every new release always has a Pokemon Center ETB, right? Comparatively to like first edition stamps back in the day, where you had that for like the first 10 sets. They held a premium because they were something that obviously was only around for a while. Whereas it feels like moving forward, PC ETBs are going to be a thing that's just with every new set. Do you think it's eventually going to just start to die down from the demand because people are like, oh, PC ETBs are always going to be a part of a new set, comparably to what is being kind of shown with first edition? Because if you look at the spreads between like a first ed versus an unlimited from a percentage perspective, they are, I mean, they're technically worse than PC compared to standard, right? You've got certain PC cards that are going for like 20 to 30x of what a standard is compared to like a first versus unlimited where it's only like 10x difference.
I mean, you know exactly what this is, right? There's a perfect analogy for this in the hobby.
Oh boy.
Pre-release and staff.
Yeah, 100%.
This is just like pre-release and staff on a different level.
Yeah, that's been around forever.
And I mean, to Brendan's point, pre-release cards aren't really cared about anymore as much. That used to be a big thing. Like back in Evolutions, dude, an Evolutions pre-release stamp Charizard, the staff Charizard, those things are still going for thousands of dollars. And even in some of the pre-release cards in like Sun and Moon and things, but like pre-release and staff, it's really kind of gotten to where, yeah, people aren't really as excited about it as they used to be.
Staff's still decent, but yeah, pre-release is definitely not.
So
Don't
yeah,
see
maybe it does end up taking the route of some of the other stamps that we've seen in the hobby.
How bad will people get wrecked when the easy to pull and currently printed IRs from SV crash in price?
Well, here's the thing.
We don't know if that's true.
I don't know if the problem is like the 10s may not have a massive like everything's going to cool off, right? But the 10s, a lot of those 10s are like 10, somewhere like 10% 10 rates, 15% 10 rates. Like, and with PSA upping their grading standards to 55%, 45% centering, it's going to be even harder to get more 10s of those. I mean, we may see the 10s of those cards actually hold up extremely well because even though people don't like it, there are whales out there and they want their cards perfect. They want all PSA 10s. Maybe some want all black labels at this point, but they're willing to pay it because they just want all PSA 10s. And some people out there just have FU money. And when there's only 100, 200 of these cards available, well, think about worldwide. There's 100, 200 plus of those people available that have the money to pay for it. And they don't care that a card is $10, but it's $500 in a 10. They want a 10. And so I think the singles probably have a much more chance of seeing larger decreases than the actual 10s do, unless some of these sets get a reprint with better quality. I don't know, man. I think the 10s are going to hold up pretty well.
Well, I think it's also a hard thing to say because we just don't know what's going to get printed or not. Because from like a pull rate perspective, everything after Paradox people said was harder to get, right? People said Temporal and more specifically Twilight, IRs and SIRs had much worse pull rates. And so it's like, do we know for a fact that Paradox and before is going to get printed?
No, and you know what? This is a great discussion for. It'd be great to challenge someone with like a vintage perspective on this, right? Because the vintage perspective, right? If you guys are familiar with like vintage channels, vintage collectors, their perspective always is, well, yeah, the cards were really easy to pull, but the condition rarity is why they're worth so much because it's so hard to find them mixed. We all played with them. Okay, this is the same way. Maybe we're not all playing with them. The condition rarity is so great because they're so hard to freaking grade. So it doesn't matter if they're easy to pull, right? Because vintage hollows are easy to pull. But if there's only a couple 100 10s in existence, it's the same argument for why vintage cards are valuable, right? So yes, the values can hold up at extreme prices, even if they're quote unquote easy to pull, for the same reason you have vintage cards hold up at extreme prices. It's just scarcity of the condition rarity card.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what ends up happening with some of these rates. I mean, if you look at 151, for example, like I haven't checked recently, but I remember like a year ago, the premiums were massive because of the odds of getting a 10 were so much lower.
They still are.
Yeah. They still are. All right, let's answer a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up here. We've already been going for a while. Do we think the Genesect Technosect Altar from Fusion can be a $50 plus card? It's way harder to hit than SVIRs and SIRs.
Is that what it's called? Technoset?
I know what he's talking to. It's like the breakdancing card.
Yeah, it's the altar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think we're looking at it the wrong way. I don't think that the scarcity should determine whether or not the card will be worth more. It's the demand for the card itself. Doesn't necessarily mean that can't be the case where it'll be a $50 plus card, but it's also not going to be determined because all of a sudden, this card is
card speculating is like single stock speculating. I
mean, yeah, it's really hard to say.
You usually hit huge gains, but it's like shooting fish in a barrel, man. It's hard.
Yeah, it's super tough because you're almost hoping that your card goes up because it's undervalued, and then your rationale could be based on the fact that you think the art looks good and people just aren't realizing it now, or because it got devalued because of the current supply. Or a lot of people, from what I've seen in the hobby, like to do is, well, it's cheap compared to the other SIRs, therefore it must be undervalued. But that's just not the case, because if people don't like the Pokemon or they don't care about the art design, it doesn't matter. Like if it's a pop 1 versus a pop 1000, if the pop 1000 card is one that people are chasing after more because they just love the art design more, it doesn't matter if the pop 1 is more scarce, you know? Like, I don't know. That's at least how I'm kind of looking at this. What are your thoughts?
That was my thought. I just don't. I don't really speculate on single cards like that. Like, you know, oh, this one. Do you guys have a lot of invested in Prismatic?
Yeah, do you have a lot invested in Prismatic? Plans with this
just
set?
like it was delayed on my screen.
Oh, interesting.
No, I have very little. I literally, to this day, all I have is the 2 cases I got from Eli. I'm in Eli's distribution program.
Hell yeah,
As
baby.
I told you, even though I do this podcast with him and all this stuff, I don't have any preferred treatment. I have a mid-level of spend at this point, and so I got allocated 2 cases of Prismatic. I put them on the shelf, and everything I have for my breaks, I bought at market price. So that's all I got.
I think we're sitting on 3, maybe 2 cases of Prismatic ETBs.
Yeah, my plans. Sorry, my plans are if it does come down, I'll end up getting more. And if I can get it at a better price. If it doesn't, I'm okay missing out. I'll just keep those 2, and that's what I'll have. And I'll try to get more of the next set. And then when things do eventually come down in the future, I'll buy more of the sets when I can. But yeah, I mean, I've talked about this a million times. I'm more okay with missing out than buying in at a high price and maybe not being able to make as much gains, or, you know, risking it dropping a bunch and then being down on my investment. I'm happy with it. Like I don't need to have a ton of every set. I don't even need every set. I'd rather, you know, miss out and take a better play than have to jump in just because it's the next shiny thing.
Yeah. No, we literally had, I think, acquired what, like, how many cases did we get? Oh man. We got like in total 12 cases, I think, from the program that we took for allocation allotment. It was like 5% of the overall pool. And of that, we sold 10 of them within a week. And then the other 2 cases we just held on to and said, hey, prices are probably going to go up. We'll just hold on to it. Just, you know, just cause, right? It's never a bad thing to, you know, sell some, keep some, you know? So
For sure.
that's kind of where we are. And our game plan is literally just sell some, keep some. It's nothing more complex than that.
That is the game plan. That's like the goated game plan in the hobby, man. That's
Sell
how
some,
you
keep some,
you survive in this hobby.
Sell some, keep some. I mean, literally, I know this is going to be a really weird way to kind of explain this, but I feel like people don't realize that the card shops that tend to be the most successful when it comes to their own like profitability metrics are the ones that ultimately buy product, sit on it, wait till it's valuable, sell some to make actual good margin, then keep some, and then historically will then just slowly sell off their position to make profits, because you're not going to make as much value off of new set releases in the same way as you are if you have a cycle of consistent product that's a year old that you're able to sell in your shop. Like
Alex went from an investor to a rip and shipper. Dude, I'm still an investor. It's just, I told you before, I like to invest when people don't want to invest, right? These markets, the bull markets, that's where you realize your gains. The bear markets is when I invest, right? So when I was making those videos a year ago, when me and Eli were sitting right here saying, and people were in the comments like, where's a good play? I'm like, go to Costco, buy the 151 UPCs that are falling off the shelves they can't get rid of. Log online, buy some. My local card shop was trying to get rid of 151 UPCs for $80. No one wants them. That's when I buy, right? I don't buy when everybody wants something and it's sky high. And so, no, I still invest. It's just like at a much lower rate right now because I can't get deals where I see the max amount of percentage gain that my money can be used for. And so that's just why you don't see me talking about buying a ton right now. I just told you I bought Shrouded Fable. When I made those videos a couple weeks ago, I was buying Shrouded Fable. I did just make a purchase of some Paldea Evolve cases, right? Because I feel like Paldea Evolve it's just getting older. There's less and less chance of getting reprinted. I love that set. I wanted to have a larger position, so I put money into more Paldea Evolve cases. But like that's the kind of stuff I'm buying right now. I'm just not buying these brand new sets that are 200 a booster box or 100 or something ETB. It's just not the right timing for me to put large amounts of capital to work in. That's all.
Yeah, it is the funniest thing when people are like, "Oh, I can't believe they're talking about Shrouded Fable like so shill," and you're just like, "Dude, I don't think you understand the market we're in right now. Like, Shrouded Fable is not available at distros. The price of Shrouded Fable, whether you like it or not, is going to go up. Do you know how much Shrouded's gone up in the past 3 months on TCG Player?
Like 75%.
It's gone up. Actually, let me
I think it
double
was like
check.
300
Let
of
me look and
ETB
see.
cakes
It's
to like
gone up.
500.
It's gone up 60% in the past 3 months. It went from $30 and it's now almost at 50.
I know. I made the video when it was at 30. I said,
Like,
here's the most obvious
dude,
play in the hobby.
do I like the set? No. Doesn't matter. I hate
actually do
Champion's
like the set.
Path. I hate Champion's Path. Look what Champion's Path is at right now.
Dude,
Like,
don't you dare compare this to Champion's Path. It's
who said
surely deeper than Champion's Path.
Who said I was comparing Champion's
All right,
Path?
all right,
I was just saying that it doesn't matter whether I like a set or not. It can still do well.
for sure.
I'm not saying that the one's like the other, but I am saying that Champion's Path sucks as a set, but it still does well. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I've always liked about Shrouded Fable, I said it from the beginning, I really like how it has like a set identity. I like how it has that like Halloween, like kind of darker like feel to it. It's like it's kind of all cohesive.
I think it's an overly hated set, personally.
Oh, what?
Overly hated set.
Oh, yeah.
Shrouded is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Pokemon Go.
Well, I mean, because if you look at the set as a whole,
that's a comparison.
Well, because if you look at the set as a whole, like the set has really cool art designs. Like the Persian's really sick, the Houndoom's really sick, the Cresselia really sick. You've got the Dusknoir art line, you've got the Cassiopeia. Like you've got good art cards that are in the set that are sick, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you enjoy it, right? Versus Champion's Path, you look at a set like Champions, you got Shiny Charizard, you got Rainbow Charizard, and you got Gardevoir Rainbow VMAX. And that's it.
I guess the Skyla.
That's literally your 3 options, right? Yeah. So it's like, yes, this set sucks when you put it next to all the other Scarlet and Violet era sets, but like, you know, it's
maybe that tells you how good Scarlet Violet era is.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, you want to talk about Scarlet and Violet era. I mean, we've been talking about this since the beginning, though. It is definitely one of the most over-hated eras because people were so let down by it, comparable to like the Sword and Shield back half. But you can't compare a back half to a front half. It's just not fair for
I disagree, though.
Pokemon sets. You just can't.
I disagree, actually.
You disagree? Do you think the first half of Scarlet and Violet's better than the back half of Sword and Shield?
Now, I mean, if you take Crown Zenith out of it, if you're comparing like Silver Tempest to like Paldea or something, yeah. I mean, what does it have? Like Lugia and Rayquaza VMAX?
Dude, okay. How do I want to rephrase this? Because I feel like you don't like my terminology when I use it.
Tell me any of the back 4 sets that are better than like, you know, Paradox Rift, Paldea. Like these sets are deep, good sets.
Well, hold on. Let me say what I'm going to say just so that you don't, because I always say this and I feel like you misconstrue what I'm saying. When I say back half, I mean the second half introduction of new art designs. If you want to say it because of like character rares and you want to compare it to the character rare sets in the Sword and Shield era, that's fine too.
Oh, so you're including evolving and
I'm saying when they introduced alt arts.
Okay, yeah.
You know. So like how I look at it is like it would be like comparing anything from Evolving all the way until Crown Zenith and then comparing anything from Stellar all the way until the end of Scarlet and Violet. So anything before that, if you were to say like Vivid and compare it to like Paldea Evolved, like there's no comparison.
Here's one thing I will say. I think you'll agree with this. I agree with you. But I think Scarlet Violet first half compared to Sword and Shield back half is way closer than Sun and Moon first half compared to, Sword and Shield first half compared to Sun and Moon back half. I think it's a way closer margin there. Like, Sun and Moon back half like crushes Sword and Shield front half, but then like
of course
Scarlet Violet front half, it's worse for sure, but it's not as bad as
I can agree with that. I mean, it's got good stuff for sure. I mean, man,
I wrecked Sword and Shield front half. Like,
dude,
wrecked it.
it was horrible. I honestly think that I think Crown Zenith, I don't know. I think it's underrated. Like, I think Crown
It
Zenith is the
is.
top 5 set of all time. All time. Not in this era. I'm talking all time. And for some reason, it still feels like it gets disrespected. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like,
It
I
just
feel
got
like
so much product dumped on it.
that's the thing. And people are valuing it off the price. And I'm just like, dude, this set is not only so deep, like it's such a deep set, but it's like it also is a set that has so many different cards that people can like, right? Like you've got Eevees in it, you've got the Mewtwo in it, you've got obviously the Forest Gallery set subset, you've got the gold cards, you've got the introduction of the SIRs for the trainers. You've got like so many cards that were
Well, this should tell
introduced.
you, like, it's still the most open set on my pack breaks to this day. And we're what, 12
It's a
sets?
great
We're what?
set.
We're like 10, 11, 12 sets in. Or how many sets are we past Crown Zenith now?
We are, so it was 12.5. We're hitting into 9. So we're about 11 sets, I think. Or no,
So
12,
out of
12, 12,
out of
12.
11 sets, and it's not just because everything's too expensive. I mean, Crown Zenith is just as expensive as most every other set except Prismatic and
Yeah.
151. And
Yeah,
everyone still wants to open Crown over anything else released. It's crazy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
I mean, it's the most fun to open set I would say they've created.
Yeah, or 12. Yep, I was right. Or 12.
Yeah, I think it's the best opening set they've created.
It's great.
Generations was really good too. Generations was really fun to open with the Radiant collection and all that.
Yeah, I liked Radiance. I thought it was cool.
And then Hidden Fates, obviously, but man,
Crown Hidden Fates was such a fun set to open. I loved opening Hidden Fates.
I still feel Crown hits different.
All right, let's finish it off with this question, then we'll be done here. Question: you've hinted at this, but just to clarify, buying a good set at a high price is better than buying an okay set at a good entry. I don't like the way that's phrased. Because he says a good entry. He doesn't say at a cheap price.
He's right, though. Like here, like the way I read that is, I would rather buy Brilliant Stars right now at the current price than Battle Styles at the current price.
Yeah, but would you say Battle Styles at the current price is a good entry?
I mean, yeah.
Because I feel like that's where the wording is different.
Like 4 years old, still mid ones. Still, I think it's a good entry.
Yeah, because I think that's hard because I feel like when you say good entry, it makes it up for interpretation more so.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, I want to get your take on one more thing too before we go, because Pokeball card said something about it at the very end about like hit rates.
Yeah.
So how I feel about hit rates, if I could do it, like if I had it my way, I think people want more hits, and because the lower level hits, they're always going to go to like very inexpensive cards, right? The regular EXs, unless they're like playable for a certain period of time, they're never going to be that valuable. Everyone already knows that. And so it's like, why not give us more? Why not allow us to get like 15 to 18 hits out of a booster box? If you already know they're not going to be worth anything, and then you can still keep the god tier cards, like keep the SIRs at like alt art level hit rates where people have something to chase and collect and it's always really valuable, but give us more lower level or mid level hits because we know they're not valuable anyway. They're always getting 50 cents to $1, but then we can pull more of it and feel better about opening packs. So you're not opening 5 packs in a row with no hit.
Because people are always going to complain.
You think?
Yeah, dude. I mean, if you look at how they evolved, the biggest complaint everyone had about how they evolved was the pull rates were too easy. And now you look
at what's because the SIRs were too easy. I wonder if they had like, like Prismatic or Surging Sparks level hit SIR rate, but everything else was the same. I wonder if it would be the same hate. I think you need that god tier rarity as well as easy stuff. So like it'd be like Evolving Skies. If you gave Evolving Skies way more hits, but you kept the alt arts just as hard to hit, I think people would enjoy opening that set way more, and it wouldn't be called Evolving.
But what would be the easy hits then?
Just more Vs. Just put more Vs per box. They're still worthless. Who cares?
I feel like the Vs are not hard to hit though. I don't think
Evolving Skies is usually like 8 hits out of a box.
Really?
I'm saying take it up to like 13 to 15 every box.
I was about to say I averaged 12 to 13 and I opened at least 10 plus cases of Evolving. Like I never had a box that was less than 10 for evolving. But it depends because I considered V's hits. So it's like that's where my numbers are. I feel like V's people don't give a shit about. Like
Mason's got a good point. He said art rares will go up at better age better than bulk EXs. Art rares will actually go up. Bulk EXs always suck. And that's what I'm saying. It's just like if they're already gonna suck, give people 3-4 more in a box. Who cares?
But I
it
don't
gives
think
them
you
more
should,
shiny stuff to pull.
I don't think that'll work though, because like you're seeing what's happening. I think in the long term, yes, but in the short term, like look at the perspective shift on Brilliant Stars. When Brilliant Stars first came out, people were like, "Oh, Brilliant Stars, such an amazing set! Like, look at the character rares and the trainers, like they're so sick." And then as the set started to like continuously have product come out for it and the value of these trainer gallery cards started to go down, all of a sudden people were like, Brilliant Stars' set sucks. Because now it was like, okay, if you don't get the Charizard, then every single card's less than $100. And all of the trainer gallery cards were like several dollars and some even less than that.
Yeah,
Like people
Brilliant
stopped
Stars
caring.
it's the reason the Charizard are so cheap today. They had two problems. There wasn't enough alt arts, right? And the alt arts weren't hard enough to hit like they were in Evolving Skies, Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike. And so if they had harder hit rates of the top cards and there was actually something to chase, then at least you'd feel better having hits than just like no hits and no alt art.
I think that becomes difficult though, because like if you say to yourself, right,
That's why Crown
SIRs,
Zenith is so fun. Most of the Crown Zenith Galarian Galers aren't worth much, but people still like pulling them because they're great artworks.
I think though here's an interesting point though, is it's like I think though what you have to consider is you have to make sure those cards are valuable though. Because going back to my original take on the Fusion Strike, the like alt art rates, if you're pulling a Sandaconda and you're 1 in 72 as a card that's $5, you're freaking pissed. So it's like I would much rather have a set where
But
there's
how do
only
you stop that? It's me. It's the open market.
but my point is I'd much rather have a set that has 4 like alt arts that are all worth 50 to $100 rather than have a set that's deeper with SIRs. Sure, the pull rates are harder, but I have a chance of getting one that's sub $20. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
my point is like how do you can't stop what the market's going to price cards at.
yeah, I mean, I don't think Pokemon's stupid. I think they should know what's going to be good.
If that same scenario you just listed, if those 4 cards were a Charizard, Gengar, Garatina, and Lugia, they would all be $50.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said I don't think Pokemon's stupid. I think they know what's going to sell and what's not.
Yeah.
You can't say that they didn't. Oh my god, a Sandaconda? Why is it only going for $5? I never saw this coming. Like, come on. Like they're not dumb. They know the Sandaconda is an alt art is not gonna go for over $100. Like
I agree.
So I think if you're gonna do it right, the factors like, and this is gonna be freaking like this is gonna be like brain surgery. You're going to have your top hits all be cards that people want. Period. You're going to have to make them hard to get, but not too hard to get because now you're having an issue what you're seeing right now with Prismatic where people are whining and like complaining about the sets.
I disagree again. I disagree again.
You think the sets need to be really hard to hit for SIRs?
Yeah, I don't think they're upset that they're hard to hit. I think they're upset there's no illustration rare. There's no mid-level hit. It's just the world or absolutely nothing. I think it needs those illustrations. It needs a mid-level hit, it needs an easy hit, and it needs a god tier hit. And I think Prismatic's just missing that mid-tier hit where people can actually still pull something per like every 20 packs that makes you at least have some value.
I mean, like, I agree.
And Master Balls are supposed to be that, but they're not working.
No, I agree and I disagree. I mean, yes, I do think everything you just said, it needs like a god tier hit, middle tier hit, and a garbage hit. I agree. I think the only part I disagree with is the fact that people have been complaining heavily about it because the SIR pull rates are awful.
Yeah.
Like just transparently, I hear all the time people are like, man, Prismatic has such terrible SIR rates. Now, obviously, like
here's the thing, do you hear that with Surging Sparks?
Did I hear that with Surging Sparks?
Because technically Surging Sparks is harder. But because they have so many valuable IRs, it doesn't really hit the same way. Like Surging Sparks, you usually only get about 3 out of a case.
Surging's a hard one because I felt like I didn't really hear much complaints about surging with the SIRs.
But technically, if you believe TCG players, pull rates, it's harder to pull a Surging SIR than it is a Prismatic.
I think the problem, yeah, I think the problem is like, I'm agreeing with you that I do think that you need to have these IRs to subsidize the pain. All I'm saying is that people feel the pain because the SIRs are difficult. Like, we're saying the same thing, but we're saying it differently. Because I definitely think that could be something that could have improved the set as a whole, because people obviously
do you think it has to do with making sets larger?
I don't
that way, like the individual card.
I don't know. I feel like it's so difficult because you can go on a case by case basis with each set, and you're always going to find something that people are going to complain about.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to make it perfect, you have to literally jump through so many hoops just to make sure that you can check all these boxes. Like, you have to make a set that has a high rarity of SIR, but 2 not high of a rarity, because then people are going to complain. You have to make a set that has IRs that are in the set. That is exactly what I just said, but for IRs. And then you have to make general cards that are easy to hit, but not too easy to hit, because then they're just worthless. And then they have to be good cards that aren't just garbage, because then, like, it's like you have to find this middle ground for everything, because otherwise people will complain. Like, people do not.
You're calling it's garbage. Like, some people. It's like
no,
their
dude,
favorite Pokemon
like EX cards, bro. I don't care if you throw an EX card in every pack or every other pack. People look at EX cards as garbage currently. Like, they're selling for like 20 cents. Like, EX
that Iron Hands was valuable for a minute.
Yeah, because it's a competitively viable card. That's not comparable. It's like so cheap right now. Like, the bulk market has tanked so hard in Pokemon. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, most online stores are buying EX cards for like 20 to 30 cents.
Yeah,
which is insane, because if you think about it, Vs for the longest time were like 60 cents plus. Like, you had Vs selling for double the amount of what you're seeing EX card, right? And I'm not even talking during COVID times. COVID times it was over $1. So it's like you're just seeing EXs are really easy to hit now more than ever, and it feels like people just don't care about getting EX cards. It's like, whatever.
Billy said, LOL, you're describing 151. I think that's why people like it so much, is the hit rates make sense.
Well, that's what I was saying with 151. That's what my argument was on why I perceive people to enjoy 151 as a set, because when it came to it, like the example I gave earlier, we had people that would come into the shop and almost every single person got an SIR in every single ETB they opened. And it was an SIR that was worth something. It wasn't like an SIR that was $5. Like, the cheapest SIR you could get was like $20. And sure, it sucked to get a $20 SIR, but $20 at least in every ETB, that's pretty good value as a floor, where you can go open a Fusion Strike booster box and be happy if you walk away with $20. Like, you'd be very lucky if you got $20 in that set. So yeah.
All right, man. I think we did it.
Yeah, I think we're chilling. Oh my God, dude. Rudy, oh my God. Abraham Sanchez, $5. We can't miss this. I'm so sorry. We almost missed this. Thank you so much for the $5. Rudy's video, Sword and Shield Goldie Lock, I think is what he's trying to say. Zone, Scarlet and Violet, new and reprint window, X and Y, Sun and Moon, older, established prices. Can buy 5 altered sets for the same price as an SV set. I don't
know.
I have no clue what that means. I'm sorry. Do you know what that means? I wish I did.
I think he's talking about there's 5 alt art sets you can buy for the price of an SV set. So, like, maybe because Surging Sparks is $230, you can get like Battle Style, Silver Tempest, Astral Radiance. Like, they're all around that price point. Maybe I don't know. I'm trying to piece it together myself. I don't know.
He's basically saying Sword and Shield's a good buy right
I mean,
now.
I agree. I agree with that. If that's the sentiment, like, yeah, I would rather buy Astral, Silver, some of these other sets right now than surging at 250 for sure.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So you can get a case of Silver Tempest for the price of a Sun and Moon box. Yeah, 100%. The value of Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield's in this weird spot where the cards themselves or the boxes themselves are performing the best out of anything in the market right now, and yet they feel like they're still undervalued. Just because of the fact is, like, if you compare it to some of the things in Sun and Moon and XY, you're just the art designs are better. The just product itself, it just feels just better.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll end it there. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. As always, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, really helps the YouTube channel. Check Alex out, link down description below for that. And then, of course, if we ever have any spots open up, make sure to check out the link down description below to join our wholesale program. Or if you have any questions, you can feel free to ping me on Discord. But that's all, ladies and gentlemen. Anything you want to say, Alex? Or are we out of here?
That's it, brother. Appreciate you guys. See you guys next week.